And that's just like crash course, because it just teaches you what the structure of telly is and how you crank it out. And it's painful and hard, and I cried quite a lot, and I found it all very painful. And then I came out the other end and was like, oh my God, I know how to do this now.
I'm going to start right at the beginning. I'd like to ask you, how were the seeds of these projects planted, and how long did it take to get them to the shows that we all watched and loved?
I was just at a stage in my career, being fairly new and just getting offered things to write, where I was just trying to create something for myself where I felt I could really lean into the things I was passionate about. And that was comedy, music, but also wanting to show like women that I knew in my life, like Muslim women particularly, in a way that felt true to me. Because I think I had at a certain point been asked to write a couple of honor killing stuff, and I was like, why is this the only thing I'm sort of brought in to kind of be that writer for that? And I just was frustrated because I was like, well, I just want to write a comedy about these women, who I love and who I know. So it took it like a couple of years from when I had the idea to it even getting in the Channel 4 Black, which was its first iteration, the kind of sort of pilot program that they have for comedy. So that took that long. And then from then it was a sort of a year and a half before we kind of got the full commission for the series. But, although it took a while, it just sort of, it really allowed me to sort of find my voice, hone my voice. And, I had such a good producer in Syrian Fletcher Jones, who just kind of gave me space to play and discover it, and really kind of, to really find the story I wanted to tell in the way I wanted to tell it.
All hats off to BBC, actually, because In My Skin was commissioned through the comedy department, and then it's like there is laughs in there, but it's very dramatic, and it entered into the drama category in the BAFTAs here. So it's like the comedy department have paid for a drama show, basically. But they never once tried to force us to add more laughs or to turn it into something it wasn't. They just let it be what it was going to be, which I'm really grateful for.
How did you first get involved with the Outlaws?
So I had a meeting with Stephen and with Luke from Big Talks production company, and yeah, just they'd sent sort of rough idea of what the show is about. There was one character, particular character, Gabby, who's in the car with Stephen Merchant's character Greg in that clip you saw, who I guess I connected the most to, and I guess they wanted me to feed back on the most, I guess, because she's a wayward woman. Don't know how offended I should have been by the fact that they wanted my opinion here. But yeah, she's loads of fun. And so I just sort of pitched in a meeting, and it was a great sort of chance for me, and a step into TV, because it was the first TV I'd written, first writer's room I'd been in. I'd written a film before, but only adapting one of my own books, so it was a slightly different process. And before that I came from like novel writing, so yes, this was like the opening of a whole new world for me, but one that I really enjoyed.
For Nida and Kayleigh, obviously you were the creators and writers of every single episode of those series. Was it daunting to go it alone? And if not, then who were your key collaborators on those projects to support bringing your visions to life?
It was so daunting. I think I remember when I got the green light for the show, I was prepping for Doctor Who, and I just sort of like almost panicked, because it was, at the same time, like everything I've ever dreamt of, but then like having to deliver on the show. And it was definitely like slightly terrifying, but good terrifying, I think, because it was like a platform to kind of really lean into the story I wanted to tell, but kind of in the way I wanted to tell it. I don't know. I think it was less the kind of the amount of episodes I had to write. I think what was scary was trying to get representation right in this sort of, which is obviously BS, because there's no one voice that could possibly capture it, but then you kind of end up burdening yourself with this sort of weight of whatever. But I had such a good team of my producers. Jeremy Dyson was my script editor, who was just really great. And as I said, Syrian and Channel 4 were incredibly supportive. And, we had a co-production with Peacock in the US, who I was sort of initially like, oh, are they going to get the vibe? But they totally did.
My exec producer, Neris Evans, and script editor, Andrew Ellard, who are both amazing, And I worked with on the pilot of In My Skin in series 1, and the same team came back for series 2. So you're writing it on your own in theory, but sometimes I think a smaller team like that, if you all are really locked in and you understand one another and you understand the show intimately, I actually find it much easier and more efficient and streamlined to just have that tiny, small group, because less voices, sometimes more voices complicates things.
How did you learn how to write a script, and how long did it take? So I guess maybe for an episode, how long would it take for you to write one episode?
I like to write quickly, purely because I am ostensibly at my core extremely lazy. And so when I get like the wind of inspiration behind me, I'm like, I have to go now and get it all done quick before this inspiration passes and I won't do any work again. There's been times I could write a half an hour script in a day, really. I did do that on In My Skin. I think episode 4 I wrote in a day, just because I was like, I'm in it, and I'll go and go. And I kind of love that feeling when it comes. But that has come from a place of having spent quite a few years before that honing 5-act structure and learning the rhythm of storytelling. I don't think I know I couldn't have done it 10 years ago, but to that part of the question, learning to write scripts, 5-act structure was really key for me. So the way in was I won BAFTA Rockcliffe, and then I was hired onto Casualty. Initially did a kind of red button episode for them, which is like a 10-minute kind of interactive thing. I don't even know if they do it anymore. And then from there got into the full episodes of Casualty, and that's just like crash course, because it just teaches you what the structure of telly is and how you crank it out. And it's painful and hard, and I cried quite a lot, and I found it all very painful. And then I came out the other end and was like, oh my God, I know how to do this now. But I think one of the best things you can do in terms of learning how to write scripts and structure them is read other people's scripts. It's just like the easiest and fastest way. And also, if in doubt, just ask yourself what feels true. What would be the next move? Don't try and be too clever and reinvent the wheel. Just people mostly just want to watch something that feels like, oh, that speaks to me. So it doesn't always have to be like genius. Just tell the truth.
I have to hope that none of the producers I'm working with are watching, because I tell them it takes months and months and months. But yeah, I think for a half hour, I would say, can do that in a couple of days if I've got a good beat sheet, and then I would say for an hour, a week or so, kind of that. But that's when I'm really, really, really pushed, and I've got a really I work best under pressure. I really do. I don't know, I think a lot of writers do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I really need that pressure, and also a great redrafter. I like to do fast drafts and lots of them, and I'm lucky when I'm working with producers who are up for that as well, to just kind of like, let me just get this to you, because sometimes it's almost as though I don't know what's wrong with it until I've done a shape and sent it, and as soon as I send the thing, and I'm like, it's a novel as well, I'm like, oh, there are all the flaws, they like magically appear. So yeah, just that very unhelpful process for anyone who's a producer, I think. And then I think it's, like Kayleigh was saying, the structure, the kind of the formula has been really helpful for me, because there's almost a maths to it, especially with the film that was the first thing that I wrote for screen. It was just so good that there was a formula that I could sort of follow. I was like, oh, that needs to happen on page 25 or something around there. And so that was appealing, and that meant that I could learn it, and reading scripts really helped. Just read so many scripts, and I think it's made me a better plotter as a novelist, because novels can kind of meander all over the show, and you can spend 5 pages talking about cheese and that kind of thing. And there's sometimes a joy in that, but I think that now I'm much better at structuring my novels because of screenwriting and the skills that I've learned.
I didn't go to film school or anything, but I got onto the Channel 4's for screenwriting with a feature I'd written, again, just totally having no experience writing scripts, and it's like long, and yeah, it wasn't good, but I think there was something that they saw in the writing, so I got onto that, and that was again the where I learned how to work with a script editor, what a script editor was, how to kind of write a story, write an episode of television, and in that way, and that was kind of my school. And then my first few jobs, I was making short films, and those short films helped me get onto writing for kids TV shows, a couple of CBBC's short episodes, where it was just like, it's all story and silliness, and that really was where I kind of, again, working with a script editor, figuring out what the process is, and that's kind of, again, where I learned. I think I'm similar to Emma, right. I actually spend quite a while doing the beat sheet. Like, I want to have a nice, safe where I'm going to go. And then, I like to do fast drafts as well. Usually before I start to doubt myself, I want to just like when I'm feeling like funny, and, especially when you're writing comedy, just not to get to that second guess, and just do a fast draft, not question yourself. And then kind of, I'm a big redrafter as well, and go from there. I love getting a whiteboard out and like plotting the show on it, and then plotting the episodes on it. And then like, I enjoy a marker in my hand. I don't know what that says, but then fast drafts, and I'm quick to write, but I don't like it when they ask you, how long do you think it'll take you? And I'm like, I need 2 weeks. And I'm like, I do it in a day. Like, tell me what you think now. So yeah.